Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, I'm bringing you guys Week 8 wide receiver rankings for fantasy football in 2020. We are going to be going over the top 32 wide receivers for this week and going over why I have them ranked where I do inside of Week 8. So before I get into it, I'd like to ask that if at any point inside of these Week 8 wide receiver rankings, you end up having a great time, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below, because not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win that 2020 Fantasy Football Championship. And real quick, I'd like to give you guys a quick word from my friends and my sponsor over at Drafters.com. Drafters.com offers a variety of sports as well as games for fantasy football. You can play in the Rank'em, you can play in the snake drafts, and pretty much the thing that I play most in is the snake drafts. It's pretty much just a regular fantasy football draft that you had at the beginning of the season, except for it is a weekly draft. You draft for 1 week, you see head-to-head up against a couple of people that you're playing against, who scores more fantasy football points, and then you win the cash at the end of the week. There's a variety of entry fees. Some of these are just $1, others go up to $100+, so it's really what you want to make of it, how much money you want to spend on a weekly basis. And if you use code Notorious at checkout, you get a 50% deposit bonus up to $100 with a 10 times rollover on the bonus to withdraw. So make sure you guys go on there, get that free money, play and win. It is super simple. Make sure you guys check it out, Drafters.com. When you go to deposit, use code Notorious at checkout. And we are back. Please make sure you guys check out Drafters.com. Let's get right into it. Week 8 wide receiver rankings. We begin with wide receivers 1 through 12. At number 1, we have Davante Adams for this week, going up against the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings defense is not so hot at all, and Davante Adams is the definition of scorching fucking hot. This guy could go for 30+ points in this game, and I would not be surprised at all. Him and Aaron Rodgers absolutely demolished the Minnesota Vikings the last time they played, and I expect it to look like the exact same thing this time, except for Kirk Cousins to actually be able to fire back, because he looked like shit the first time these guys played against each other. At number 2, we have Tyreek the Freak Hill going up against the New York Football Jets. Now, my only worry about Tyreek Hill in this matchup is that Tyreek does not do anything like the second half, because I think at the beginning of the game, they're going to go balls to the wall, right? They're going to score like 3 touchdowns in the first half and then just go to sleep in the second half of the game, because the New York Football Jets realistically have a 0% chance to win this game, and Andy Reid knows that. And Tyreek Hill is going to have to be scoring his points early in this game to be good for fantasy football this week, but all it takes is a couple of quarters for Tyreek Hill to put up like 2 fucking touchdowns and over 100 yards to be one of the better wide receivers in fantasy football this week up against the New York Football Jets. And number 3, we have DK Metcalf going up against the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I understand last time DK Metcalf played up against the Arizona Cardinals, this guy did nothing. He was kind of the cuck in the corner, watching Tyler Lockett go balls to the wall up against the Arizona Cardinals. Now, I shouldn't say he did nothing, because if you guys remember that, Budda Baker gets a pick, and DK Metcalf went into Super Saiyan mode, or he went into Nas mode, like he's in the Fast and Furious fucking movie, because this dude ran so fast and chased that man down. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. Now, he should get points for that, because that was a 6-point play that he saved right there. So where's my 6 fantasy points for DK Metcalf? But with this said, going up against the San Francisco 49ers, this is a matchup that I love for Mr. DK Metcalf as well as Mr. Tyler Lockett, who we're going to talk about a little bit later. I definitely expect a huge bounce back from Metcalf in this one. At number 4, we have A.J. Brown, 2 guys from Ole Miss going back-to-back. Michael Jordan, 96, 97 in my rankings. DK, now A.J. Brown going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. This is a definition of a cupcake matchup for A.J. Brown. This whole season when A.J. Brown was healthy, this guy's taken a healthy dump right on the chest of a defense, and here up against a not-so-hot defense in the Cincinnati Bengals, I think A.J. Brown's about to go crazy this week. At number 5, we have K.A. Keenan Allen going up against the Denver Broncos in Denver. Now, I would joke about how the Denver Broncos got bent over a table and had to say, "What are you doing, step bro?" when they were playing up against the Kansas City Chiefs and Pat Mahomes last week, but the defense isn't what got bent over. Really, it was the offense for throwing pick sixes. It was the special teams for letting special teams touchdowns happen. So Keenan Allen really, or not Keenan Allen, the Denver Broncos defense wasn't really the reason why they lose that game. But Keenan Allen is going to be a huge reason why the Denver Broncos lose on Sunday. Keenan Allen is a certified baller shot caller, all right? Keenan Allen gets so many targets from Justin Herbert the pervert, or Horsecock Herbert, whichever you prefer. It is absolutely unreal. Keenan Allen's going to be dropping some nice Salt Bay, or not Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert's going to douse this man, Salt Bay style, in targets this week up against the Denver Broncos. At number 6, we have Adam Thielen going up against the Green Bay Packers. Now, Adam Thielen in some of these games has been very hit or miss, but overall, he is a definitely slam dunk play. Going here up against the Green Bay Packers, I really like Adam Thielen this week. Up against the Packers, I really see this one, like I said earlier, to be a complete polar opposite matchup to what we saw the first time these guys played. The first time, the Vikings were scoring, but the Green Bay Packers were just slamming it in. Absolute slam fucking dunk, alley-oop, Aaron Rodgers to Davante Adams. That's what we are seeing. This week, I think it's going to be not as much of a slamming of the Vikings. I think the Packers are going to win this game, but the Minnesota Vikings look far better than they looked the first time these guys played, so I think Adam Thielen will look a lot better in this matchup in week number 8. At 7, we have Tyler Lockett going up against the San Francisco 49ers. Now, no doubt last week, did this man bend over the Arizona Cardinals and hit him with the 1-2 Mayweather. But this week, up against the San Francisco 49ers, I think it's going to be the same type of game. Now, I don't expect 3 fucking touchdowns like he scored last week, right? That's a little bit too insane, a little too crazy to kind of put on a player. But here up against the 49ers, this is going to be a very tough matchup for them. And I think that the 49ers are going to be able to score in this matchup due to the fact that the Seattle Seahawks defense is kind of soft serve ice cream. So I think they'll be able to hand the ball off a zillion fucking times to get a million yards and score a bunch of points so that Tyler Lockett and friends at DK Metcalf, Russell Wilson, all those guys have to score points in this matchup. At number 8, we have Stefon Diggs going up against the New England Deflatriots. To me, this screams the perfect matchup. I love Stefon Diggs in this matchup due to the fact that the New England Patriots defense looks deflated. The offense looks deflated. Cam Newton doesn't look like he could throw a ball to you if you were standing 6 feet away from the motherfucker, all right? Stefon Diggs has been playing big in these games. Even when the Buffalo Bills look like shit, Stefon Diggs is still performing up to the optimal level that you expected out of Stefon Diggs. So I will go ahead and expect him to put up another great matchup here up against the New England Deflatriots. At number 9, we have Allen Robinson going up against the New Orleans Saints. Now, Allen Robinson is the perfect player for this scenario if he ends up playing up against the New Orleans Saints. Now, the report is that he may not go and play this week because he's been in the concussion protocol. The concussion protocol. Sound like I had a fucking concussion there because I couldn't say the word correctly, but he's in the concussion protocol, and I don't necessarily expect him to play in this game. This ranking is really only if he does end up playing. That's why he's up here. There's other guys that have been ruled out that are not in this video, i.e. Michael goddamn Thomas, who may end up getting traded by the time we are talking about wide receiver rankings next week because Tuesday is the NFL trade deadline. At number 10, we have Justin Jefferson going up against the Green Bay Packers. The first time these two teams played, Justin Jefferson was not the same guy that he is right now. At the beginning of the season, this guy was pretty much not a no-name player because he came out of LSU, was a guy primed to be the second option over there in Minnesota, but the first time they played, he just wasn't getting a lot of targets. Now we're seeing Justin Jefferson potentially perform ahead of Adam Thielen in a lot of games thus far this season. I love him this week up against the Green Bay Packers, just like I like Adam Thielen. At number 11, we have Kenny Golladay, Kenny Bones, going up against the Indianapolis Colts. Now, if I know one thing about the Detroit Lions offense, and that is that Matthew Stafford loves throwing the fucking ball to Kenny Golladay, and he also loves throwing the ball to him in the end zone. Kenny Golladay, thus far this season, when healthy, has been a certified monster in the red zone, as well as when they're driving up the field. Sadly, they have been using DeAndre Swift a little bit more to kind of vulture those touchdowns away from Kenny G, but at the end of the day, I still like Kenny Golladay here up against a tougher Indianapolis Colts defense. At number 12, closing out the top 12, obviously we're going further than that. At number 12, we have Cooper Kupp going up against the Miami Dolphins in Miami. Now, I'm a Miami Dolphins fan. I actually expect this to be kind of a tough matchup for Kupp as well as for Robert Woods due to the matchup, the cornerback matchups in this game, but I think Cooper Kupp will still be successful considering I don't think this one's going to be a low-scoring game. I think both teams are going to be able to get points on the board, and Cooper Kupp is that super safe guy you throw in your lineup every single week. Even if he doesn't boom, he never ends up busting right on your face like your name was Remy LaCroix. So now on to wide receivers 13 through 24. So if you guys have ended up enjoying this video thus far, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. At number 13, we have Michael Evans going up against the New York Football Giants. Now, it is still very much unknown if this game is going to end up playing on Sunday. And by Sunday, I mean Monday. They're playing on Monday Night Football. What an excellent matchup to watch Tampa Bay dick down the New York Football Giants. So Mike Evans is going to be a start in this one and a very high priority in my opinion. This is probably going to be his last game of complete dominance of the red zone, I would say. Mike Evans has been very touchdown dependent thus far this season, but I expect him to be able to score that touchdown up against the New York Football Giants before Antonio Brown comes to town next week and turns everything into a total mess. At number 14, we have Travis Fulgham, and Travis Fulgham's going up against the Dallas Cowboys defense this week. Now, I don't trust really many Philadelphia Eagles players, but at the end of the day, this guy has been completely and utterly dominant for this team, for the Philadelphia Eagles. I love him here up against the Dallas Cowboys. I will not fret this matchup at all. It's a Sunday night matchup. It's a very soft matchup up against the Dallas Cowboys, and while you might be scared to dub Travis Fulgham as a top 14 wide receiver, don't be scared just because you probably had no idea about who the fuck this man was until this year. Buy into it. Travis Fulgham up against the Dallas Cowboys this week. At number 15, we have Tyler, Boyd, going up against the Tennessee Titans this week. I expect this one to be a back and forth affair. A 1-2, back and forth with some blocking, some combinations, A, B, X, Y, Z. If you're playing on Xbox, Tyler Boyd here is going to put up a solid game. This guy and all of the other Cincinnati wide receivers that we are going to talk about in this video, I personally believe will have big games. Now, the only thing is that one of these motherfuckers is not going to have the big game. We're going to talk about Higbee, we're going to talk about Boyd, and we're going to be talking about AJ Green inside of this top 24. So there's going to be one of these guys that inevitably busts right on your goddamn face, and I understand that. But the opportunity here up against the Tennessee Titans with a quarterback the likes of Joe Burrow, who has played so well this season, even up against these tougher kind of teams, I think Tyler Boyd here is in for a big one. At number 16, we have Robert Woods. Bobby Trees going up against the Miami Dolphins. Now, Robert Woods, for some godforsaken reason, has just been rushing the I don't even know if that's the correct term to use, but for some fucking random-ass reason, this man has been getting rushing touchdowns. I don't know what Sean McVay is watching, but I like it for Robert Woods. Robert Woods has been very involved rushing the ball as well as receiving the ball. Here up against the Miami Dolphins is kind of a tough matchup, but with so many of these top 24 wide receivers having played on Thursday Night Football, I liked Calvin Ridley, I liked Julio, I liked DJ Moore, I liked Robbie Anderson. I understand that Calvin Ridley got hurt. Julio played pretty good. DJ Moore didn't play too good. Robbie Anderson didn't play too good, but those were guys inside the top 24 that are no longer there. Since there were so many to start on Thursday, it kind of elevates these guys that aren't necessarily the highest of my opinion for this week up the rankings. At number 17, we have Amari Cooper going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, it's likely that Gucci Danucci, quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, everyone's favorite Italian boy, Danucci, is going to be starting as the quarterback in this game. I'm about 100% sure. And Amari Cooper here is still going to be able to produce. Now, I don't think it's going to be the likes of what he had with Dak Prescott. I don't even think it'll be the likes of what he had with Andy Dalton. But how much bad or how much worse could Ben DiNucci be? I assume he's going to be pretty bad, but I still think he's going to be able to feed Amari Cooper enough to finish as a top 18 wide receiver. Number 18, we have Titty Boy T. Higgins going up against the Tennessee Titans. There's nothing I love more than T. Higgins in this matchup. T. Higgins has been balling out of control. Unreal T. Higgins development this year. There's a reason why Joe Burrow called up the fucking management and told them to draft T. Higgins. I believe he personally hand-selected T. Higgins to come to the Cincinnati Bengals. I think T. Higgins, and I think that's a reason why T. Higgins has succeeded so much thus far this season, and I love him this week up against the Titans. At number 19, we have Deontay Johnson going up against the Baltimore Ravens in Baltimore. Now, I know what you might be thinking, Nick. That's absolutely crazy. Insane in the membrane that you have Deontay Johnson ahead of Chase Claypool, ahead of Juju Smith-Schuster. But let me tell you one fucking thing. Deontay Johnson is the #1 target on this team, whether you like it or not. Okay? Now you might be wondering, Nick, why is this? Now, he's not the #1 guy on the team, not the #2 guy on the team, even in my opinion, based on skill level. But I'm talking strictly based on targets. Deontay Johnson gets peppered with targets Salt Bae style on a weekly basis by Mr. Big Ben Roethlisberger. So I think he's going to have a very successful game here up against Baltimore, considering he is not going to be one of the guys that is keyed in on. He's like the third fucking best guy on the team, so the third best corner likely will be guarding Deontay Johnson. At number 20, we have Chase Claypool going up against the Baltimore Ravens. Now, people have dubbed this guy as Mapletron. I think it's a stupid fucking nickname because he's from Canada and all, and he's like Calvin Johnson, aka Megatron, all good, whatever, but I don't personally like calling him that. I've said it a couple times, and people say they actually hate the nickname, so I'm going to try to go ahead and pivot away from that. But Claypool had a bad game last week, right? He plays bad. Now, people are going to be pissed at him, right? This is just what happens in fantasy football. People pivot so fucking hard on these players. Chase Claypool fucked you right in the ass last week without the use of lube. You're pissed. You're done. You're not playing him again. That's how some people think. Don't be that guy. Play Chase Claypool this week up against the Baltimore Ravens. I think the biggest guy to suffer in this one is going to be Mr. Boo Boo Smith-Schuster, who we're going to talk about at 24, which is kind of the case just like with the Bengals, where I think one of these guys are probably going to end up busting right on your goddamn face from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Number 21, we have Brandon Aiyuk going up against the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. Now, Brandon Aiyuk is one of those premier kind of players for this matchup because Deebo Samuel is going to be out. The Seattle Seahawks defense is not all that good, and Brandon Aiyuk is a fucking Swiss Army knife. This motherfucker hits you one time with the stab from his pass catching. Then he stabs you again with his rushing. He's a complete and utter Swiss Army knife for this offense, and I like Brandon Aiyuk here up against the Seattle Seahawks being really the only good wide receiver on the team besides George Kittle, but George Kittle, again, not a wide receiver. At number 22, we have A.J. Green going up against the Tennessee Titans. Now, no one does not believe in A.J. Green as much as I do. I think that he's old, and I don't think he's as good as he used to be. But what I do know is that he has been good the last 2 weeks, and I think he's going to make it the lucky number 3 this week. I like A.J. Green this game, but again, one of these motherfuckers, Boyd, Higgins, or A.J. Green, is not going to have an amazing game this week, even though they all three looked pretty good last week. At number 23, like Michael Jordan, we have Jarvis Landry going up against the Las Vegas Raiders. And Jarvis Landry is in for a premier spot here now that Odell tore his ACL. This situation is very good for him, just like his name was Mike, the situation. So I like him here up against the Raiders, but I'm not super bought in that they're going to throw a million touchdowns this week. I think we're going to see a lot more of Mr. Kareem Hunt in this matchup. At number 24, we have Boo Boo Smith-Schuster going up against the Baltimore Ravens. Now, Juju has been a dime a dozen this season. He's been good in 2 games, pretty fucking terrible in the other ones, okay? Up against the Ravens is a tough matchup, and he is going to be getting either the number 1 or number 2 corner on the team defending them in the Baltimore Ravens, depending on if they dub Claypool as the bigger threat or Juju. So I don't expect a huge game out of him here, though, if I'm being honest with you. But I like the matchup. No love lost in the AFC North. I think this is going to be a high-scoring one. So I'll play Juju, but I won't be ultra confident in him. Now on to wide receivers 25 through 32. So again, if you guys have ended up enjoying thus far in this video, please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Number 25, we have an unfamiliar face in the top 32, and that's Cole Beasley, wide receiver, going up against the New England Patriots. Now the Patriots defense has looked like some soft serve ice cream recently. They're not the Patriots defense that you would think of when you think of the New England Patriots. They are the complete opposite of that. Cole Beasley is going to ball the fuck out against them. I love him this week. He's been very safe thus far this season, so I'll safely put him in here at number 25 using a condom to make sure that it's safe when I stuck him in here at number 25. At number 26, we have Rashard Higgins going up against the Las Vegas Raiders. And we saw Higgins play very, very good last week in that matchup after Odell Beckham Jr. went down. So I like Rashard Higgins, again, to have a pretty solid game. But again, he's kind of a hit or miss player here because there's a lot of guys there not named Jarvis Landry that will be getting opportunity. At number 27, we have Marquise Hollywood Brown going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, this is a scary matchup for Mr. Hollywood because Lamar Jackson hasn't looked that great this season. The Steelers' defense is very good. Hollywood Brown, not all that consistent. So this is a scary matchup for him. I'd start him over the rest of these other guys, but he is a bit risky. At number 28, we got Mr. Wiki CeeDee Lamb going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, again, Gucci Danucci. Probably not as good as Andy Dalton. Definitely not as good as Dakota Prescott. But what I do know is CeeDee Lamb will still be involved in this game. I think Michael Gallup has been the odd man out thus far this season. I still feel a bit comfortable starting Mr. CeeDee Lamb. At number 29, we have another CD, Corey Davis. CD, why don't you see these nuts all over your face? Corey Davis at the Cincinnati Bengals. This is a great matchup for Corey Davis. Obviously, he's the second man of the one-man crew that is A.J. Brown, but Corey Davis coming off the Corona last week, balled out. I like him again here up against the Bengals. At number 32, we have another guy that's a shot in the dark, and you're too late because you're giving love a bad name. Darius Slayton up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, again, I don't know if they're going to play this game on Monday. I don't know. A lot of guys on the Giants have the Rona, but again, they don't really move these fucking games in the NFL, so I think they're going to play. Just note, there's a bit of caution in this one. Darius Slayton going up against the Bucs. Scary matchup. Danny Dimes does throw to Darius Slayton, so I'll take him, but he's definitely risky. At number 31, we have Devontae Parker going up against the Los Angeles Rams. Now, we're at the point here where I'm not trying to start any of these guys. Devontae Parker with Tua Tagovailoa in his first ever NFL game. I expect Parker to eat, but I would caution you because it's Tua's first ever game up against a tough Rams defense. And at number 32, we have Mike Williams going up against the Denver Broncos. Now, Mike Williams has so much talent. He has more talent in his left testicle than some of these guys have that are up here in the top 25. But with that said, Mike Williams is also inconsistent. He has a great game. He looks like the best wide receiver on the field. He looks like he makes a 50-50 catch look 99% chance that he's going to catch it, right? And then there's other games where he just doesn't do anything, isn't getting targeted. So it's very hit or miss for Mike Williams. I do like him this week up against the Broncos, but again, he's kind of hit or miss on a weekly basis. So thank you guys all for watching. I really appreciate it if you guys would hit that subscribe button down below. Make sure you guys check out drafters.com. Use code Notorious at checkout, and it is also linked down below in the description. I love you all. Have a great rest of your guys' day, and I'll see you beautiful bastards in a couple of hours with some more bangers of videos. Goodbye.